Okay. And the first one is the Antarctic Treaty. It's not exactly about the how to say, the anti-nuclear nuclear weapon-free zone, but it includes the anti-nuclear matter, right? So the second one, what is the next one is that Treaty of Tlatelolco. Okay, the dawn of the nuclear-free nuclear weapon-free zone can be seen in Latin America. Okay, Treaty of Tlatelolco left the first mark in the history of nuclear weapon-free zone. After the Cuban crisis in 1962, Latin American countries recognized the necessity of nuclear weapon-free zone in the region. Their action was so rapid that in the next year, 1963, a solution to denuclearization in Latin America region was adopted in the United Nations General Assembly. With the initiative of Mexico, the Treaty of Tlatelolco was in vigor in 1968. Tlatelolco is the name of the city in Mexico. Right, the next comer was Oceania. After the massive experiments of nuclear weapon explosion by France from 1966 in South Oceania, they got anti-nuclear momentum. And after the Labour Party getting in power in Australia in 1983, the movement of nuclear weapon-free zone in this region has accelerated. In 1985, the nuclear-free treaty was adopted in the General Assembly of the South Pacific Forum, so-called, and in the next year it got in vigor. I mean, in 1986, right? And another attempt. This is so it's called Treaty of Rarotonga, South Pacific Nuclear Free Zone Treaty. Okay, the next one is Treaty of Bangkok, Southeast and Asian Nuclear Weapon Free Zone Treaty. As the foundation of ASEAN, they have already had an ambition to convert their region to zone of peace, freedom, and neutrality, so-called. The nuclear-free zone treaty is a part of this framework. And because of the geopolitical constrained environment of the Cold War in this region, this idea has lied on the table. But after the end of the Cold War, partly thanks to the change of international circumstances and with the strong initiative of Indonesia, the Treaty of Bangkok was signed in 1995, 15 years ago. Then, let's look about Africa. Africa is the first nuclear-free continent in the history of a human being. In 1961, denuclearization of African continent was declared in the United Nations. But suspicion of the development of nuclear weapons in South Africa made this process suspended. In 1991, South Africa revealed the truth. I mean, the position of the nuclear weapons as well as their abolition. That fact accelerated drastically the nuclear weapon-free zone to be in effect. And in 1996, 42 African countries have signed to the Treaty of Pelindaba, and in 2009, it was put into effect by the ratification of Burundi. That's correct, Muhammad?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay, among these nuclear weapon-free zones, okay, I forgot one thing. Central America. Where was it? Okay, the Central America had the newest history of this nuclear weapon-free zone. The vision of nuclear weapon-free zone in Central America has declared in 1997 by 5 countries: Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan. With the support of the United Nations, the letter of the treaty was drafted, and in 2006, the Treaty of Semey was signed, and from 2009, it is in effect. Okay, let's see the map of a nuclear weapon and nuclear free zone. Let's see the red one. Red countries are nuclear weapon holders. United States and Russia and China and India, Pakistan and France, England, and so on, right? The orange ones are nuclear weapon shared countries in NATO. In some countries in Europe and Turkey. And the yellow ones are NTP members, for example, Japan and Korea, right? And Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. And the blue one belongs to the nuclear weapon-free zones. So, looking at this map, like more or less half of this, the countries in the world, no, more than half of the countries in the world belong to the nuclear weapon-free zone. Right? And, oops. Okay, looking at those treaties, I found some characters. For example, the Treaty of Tlatelolco in Latin America is characterized by the Cold War. Because of the Cold War, they got recognized the need of nuclear weapon-free zone. To avoid the nuclear war in this region by superpowers, I mean the United States and the Soviet Union, they made it, right? And that is the only way to avoid the nuclear war in this region, because it was really in danger in 1962. I mean, the Cuban crisis. And for countries in Oceania, the nuclear weapon-free zone has another importance, because though they were not at the conflict, their life was in danger by the experiment of the nuclear explosion by France. And ASEAN made use of nuclear weapon-free zones in many ways. For example, it is security toward the expanding influence of China in Southeast Asia. And at the same time, it works to strengthen the unity of Southeast Asian countries. And in case of Africa, same thing can be said, and the things seem to, for example, Africa has always sought unity as a continent, right? So this treaty means a kind of unity in a whole continent. Okay, then Central Asia, they sought the way to survive after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and they get away from the old-fashioned scheme and avoid new age conflict, and they need to get rid of the nuclear weapons and declare the nuclear weapon-free zone as a region.